Well, hello, and thank you so much for stopping by the In Trive, a place for the inspired, thriving tribe. You already know what it is. My name is Ciera Payton, and I am the host. And today, I am so excited to bring on my very, very, very good friend, Eddie Lui. He's an amazing actor, and he has so much to share and talk about his career. But before we dive into all of that, you know what to do. Go ahead and take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and just be on board for the whole ride of all of this. I want to go ahead and just share Eddie's bio before I bring him on. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll dive into the interview. So, Eddie Lui is an American actor who was born in Queens, New York to Chinese immigrant parents by the way of India. They started a small family business after they arrived in New York City. They are Hakka Chinese. Eddie grew up on Long Island, where he was an active student in school, participating in team sports, school clubs, as well as training in martial arts with his brother. He attended Hofstra University, where he sought creative outlets to explore his artistic side. His first acting experience came when his sociology professor referred him to her colleague who was seeking American actors who'd want to audition for an on-campus theater production she was directing. After that production, he majored in public relations because he wanted to preserve his chance at a stable career. He continued to take acting classes on the side and commute to Manhattan for auditions. Just weeks before graduating with a degree in public relations, Eddie decided to pursue his true passion and soon after was accepted into the acting program at the William Esper Studio in New York City. Eddie pursued his career in Los Angeles, where he steadily accumulated work in commercials and small theater. His first television role was in HBO's critically acclaimed comedy Silicon Valley. He is also known for his portrayal as Steve Lee in Mindy Kaling's highly anticipated Netflix comedy series Never Have I Ever. And soon after, Eddie landed his first series regular role on CW's Kung Fu. So, without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Eddie Lui. We are cheersing.
We're gonna cheers to tea.
To tea. To green
Cheers.
tea.
To green tea.
Yes.
It's good stuff.
You like it?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay. I'm excited because,
Me too.
Eddie, you are literally my first in-person podcast interview.
Am I really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because everyone else, they've been on Zoom, and I was just like, well, I have cameras, I have microphones, I have lights. I was like, why not just...
This is a terrific setup.
Do this whole thing in person.
This is like top notch, high caliber. This is really great.
Yay, well, thank you.
It's like I'm on a set. This is nice.
I know. I was like, let me make it as professional as possible.
Hell yeah.
So.
No, it's so nice to be able to be the first one to do it like in person, because I remember how long did we spend doing the Zoom thing and like Zoom table reads, and I did like a comic convention, like a Comic Con type of thing.
Oh, nice.
And the first one we did was on Zoom. And it was like, it's great to be here, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And then the following year we will do it in person, and you could feel that, just to have people there, like that energy.
Yeah.
Like we missed that. That was great. So this is akin to that for me.
Yeah. I hope to be able to do more of these in person, but I do share a home with my boyfriend. So it's trying to coordinate and find the right time.
Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, well, anyway, thank you so much for coming by. I'm so just happy to have you here and just hear all about your journey and your story.
It's so great to be here with you, hanging out with you.
Yes, it's been, this is our first time seeing each other in person since...
In a minute.
Was it 2019?
To my memory, the last time we saw each other, I feel like it was like you helping me with the tape.
Yeah, because you came by and I helped you.
I remember it was like pouring rain, and I think it was like November, December of 2018.
Wow.
I was like running to rehearsal or something like that. I had to bang out it was like a TV guest star tape.
Yeah, and I was just like, dude, I moved. If you want to drive all the way out to Santa Clarita.
At that point, I don't think I knew that you had moved, and you told me, and I thought you were still in the NoHo area.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess I'm driving to Santa Clarita.
I was just like, I'm so sorry, my man.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I was just like...
Well, it was either that or like I didn't do the tape.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the deadline.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking about all the tapes that we've done together.
So many.
Too many.
Oh, good memories.
I know. But you helped me book the She's Gotta Have It guest star.
I did?
That was, you helped me with that one. I remember that one to this day. Because I remember I got it like earlier in the day, and they were like, this is due by this evening or something like that, or by tonight. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then I just called you and you were like, all right, cool. Yeah. And I didn't know the lines. I just was like, whatever. And I just started just being like, blah, 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 blah.
Was this at your old place?
This was at my old place.
Okay, so it was before the move.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And then I got that role like a couple weeks later. I think I told you about that. I don't know. But
maybe
anyway,
you did, but that feels like a lifetime ago. Because
yeah.
Anything like pre-pandemic is time-wise either I do remember it well and it feels like it wasn't that long ago, or my memory is like poor on it now.
Yeah, no, yeah. I feel that too. I'm just like, any time before 2020, it feels like 2000 or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Also, we didn't age like those 2-3 years in the pandemic. It doesn't count.
No, doesn't. I'm still 21.
You look younger to me. I shit you not. Like you,
what?
You do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything, but I'll take that.
You're just living your best life. That's all.
I'm eating avocados, you know, that type of stuff.
Good fats. We need it.
Yeah, but you look great too.
Thank you.
Haven't aged at all.
Thank you.
So.
Ooh, I feel, it's weird. I
just
feel
a little seasoned.
That's a flattering word. Definitely like those days where you're like, I either feel like I'm 29 and then there are other days I feel 40 and you know, it's like a different levels of maturity and wisdom versus holy crap. You know, there's different levels of that.
No, dude, my body has been like, and you know me, I'm all like manifestation type of, you know, law of attraction, watch what you speak and stuff like that. But I have had back strains, hamstring, like just stupid stuff. And I'm like, is this literally what happens with age? Like, I don't want to accept it, but it is the most annoying thing ever. Like, I was all into Muay Thai and boxing, and like I came to a point where I was like, I don't know if I could do this anymore. Like my body is like, no.
Well, here's the thing, because when we were doing all those tapes together, all pre-COVID, you and I we were each separately doing our own thing. We were very physical, very active in our own ways, right? But then our lives changed. So a friend had to remind me, like, I said to him that I was really relenting how like I just don't move on the days that I'm not working and I wasn't on set. I'm like, I just sit because I'm so burnt out. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I've been burnt out for like 2.5-3 years straight. Yeah. And I miss how much movement I had, how many steps I got in a day, because I used to work in a gym. And even on the days that I wasn't working out and I was training like 2, 3, 4, 5 clients, I'm moving with them. I'm sweating. I'm getting on the floor and I'm demonstrating a couple of exercises here and there. But because it's rush hour in the gym at 6 p.m. and there's just a lot of bodies in the gym, it's just hot. Yeah. So I'm sweating and I'm stepping and I'm walking. And so going from that contrast to now, on a day off for me, I'm like, oh, I'm just sitting. Yeah. And I miss being that active. And so my friend had to like remind me to give myself the grace of like, your lifestyle changed for the better. Don't be upset. You don't have to be sad about that. Just know that like it wasn't you who gave up. It's just you just had to adapt to a different life pattern, and that's okay. Like you just have to adjust yourself again. Yeah. So we could do those things. It just takes a level of focus to be like, all right, be clear about, okay, well, I used to go to a Muay Thai class, and right now if I went, I would feel like I would die. Yeah. But who's to say I can't train at a percentage of what that was and still feel good about it? Yeah. You know.
All right, that's good advice for me, because I've had to like even stop taking Pilates for a while because I just would have these crazy back strains and muscle aches and stuff. And so what I'm doing now is just doing a lot of yoga. Yeah. And that's just kind of helping things.
Does it feel good?
It feels so good.
It's great.
But I don't feel as like muscular and strong.
I don't either. I don't. I do kind of miss that. Yeah. Yeah. But then also like but back to the same point, like I had to be reminded, like my goals are different. My function is different. Like people love to, I'm of the fitness world. That was my background. That was my job for like 8 years or something like that. And a word that got thrown around a lot of catchphrases, a lot of catchwords in the fitness industry get thrown around, including functional training. And as I got older, I heard someone say like, well, okay, what is functional training? It begs the question. You have to ask yourself, first of all, the question is, what's your function? Because functional training to a lot of people just looks like kettlebell swings, box steps, squatting, deadlifting. And it's like, okay, well, if you're a bodybuilder, then your function is to have that bodybuilder physique.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that that's not functional. It's like that's that person's function.
Yeah.
If you're a new mother, okay, now you have a different set of functions.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're a senior who's like 65 years old and you're relearning how to exercise in the modern age with all of our new modalities that they didn't have 30, 40 years ago, that's a different function. Mm-hmm. And then so you and I, where we are now in our lives and our careers, we each have our own function now. You know,
it's so interesting how the body changes.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it. And it's like, I know in our society, we're so anti-aging and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just find it really cool and beautiful. And I'm just like, all right, like I'm just in a different stage right now, you know?
Yeah. On the days that you don't forget to warm up.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yeah. Aging is great when you warm up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. I miss being like, I used to like train for strength and I used to have decent like powerlifting numbers and stuff like that. Like decent for me. Mm-hmm. And I haven't done that because my lifestyle changed. Like,
yeah, we're going to get into that because I want to hear all about this new lifestyle because I'm very familiar with your journey, you know, just as well. You know, I don't know everything, obviously. But before we jump into that, I do want to ask like a few little icebreaker questions here.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you know, but I do love astrology, zodiac. Yes. And so do you know what your rising sign, sun sign, and moon signs are?
Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna pull this up.
Okay.
My birth chart.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
She's like, may I do your birth chart? And I said, sure. I think I favored it and it's in here somewhere. According to the time that I was born. Mm-hmm. So I am a Cancer.
Yes. And when's your birthday again?
June 29th.
Okay. Nice.
So my rising sign is a Libra.
Okay.
And apparently that's how you present yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. And apparently I have the same sun and same moon as Tom Cruise.
Nice.
So if that translates into any kind of professional success, I'll take it.
Yes.
It's great. Rising is Libra. So I have a Cancer sun, Libra rising, Leo moon. And my Venus is in Gemini, which also explains a lot. Thanks a lot, friend.
All right, we're not gonna touch the Venus stuff, but I have a Leo moon too. No, you did it. And look, I'm not an astrologer by any means, but I do find it very fascinating.
This stuff is very fun to me. I don't take it super seriously in terms of like, I love like talking about it, and when it's on and it like I hear something that's so uncanny and in such an uncanny way describes me, I'm like, ooh, like this is cool. But like we talk about it and then a minute later I forget all of that stuff. Like I had to screenshot my conversation with my friend because I'm not going to remember this.
All right. It's funny. I'm going to remember it though. Yeah. So what are some things that people say about you or about Cancers that you find true to you?
Nothing's terribly specific, but on the subjects of like attachment or avoidance or our sensitivities, I think I read something about how like as a Cancer, I'm more sensitive than I let on. And like I do put up a kind of a shell. And I was like, and I had to reinterpret that. I'm like, I feel like I'm pretty accessible. I feel like I'm pretty open to talking about sensitive things. I'm like, oh wait, it's not a hard shell. But it's my own kind of shell.
You're very compassionate. I
am, but I mask in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And then as I also learn more about, you know, because everybody has ADHD, I'm like, no, wait, some people really have it. And I'm like, I believe I'm one of those people, having read a lot and seen a lot of memes and like, sure, of course, that's not a real diagnosis, right? And as of this point, I still need to get an official diagnosis, but I would bet my imaginary house that I have ADHD. But one of the things is like, okay, you learned to, for many different reasons, I learned to mask and present a default image that I'm okay. And there's like, it ties into a lot of like my people pleasing aspects, my emotional labor defaults, which is to make sure that you know that I'm okay and that I'm never going to let you think that I'm not okay, because then you're not okay. And then I'm not okay because I know that you're not okay.
Wow. I so relate to that.
And it's like, it's so heady. And I'm like, oh, okay. Other people have gone through this experience. I'm definitely not the only one. But there are people that don't deal with this in the same way that I do. And I'm like, I'll have what they're having.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, I so relate to that. That's so crazy.
Yeah. So I think that kind of ties into like, okay, that's my shell. If we're talking in astrological sort of sign sort of languages, okay, I don't have a hard, rough exterior, like in the way that you think a crab would, but like there's a front of some kind.
Yeah. I relate to that as an Aquarius too.
Yeah.
They say Aquarians are, we have no emotions, but I really think that
Really?
they say that about us. They say that we're emotionless. That's the bad thing that they say. Well, I take it as a bad thing, but for me, and any Aquarius who has heard that, they're always like, no, we just don't want to get hurt. Like, we don't want people to like always know like what we're feeling or thinking.
Is it
because
like a poker face kind of thing? Is that what that is?
I think so. Or it's also like, I think we're just afraid sometimes to like really express our emotions. So like,
Yeah, but
we
I
won't
relate
get
to that.
like,
And I'm not an Aquarius.
yeah. So it's probably just like a normal thing, but I've heard the good and the bad when it comes to like Aquarius with that. It's like, don't date an Aquarius because you're not going to know if they're into you or not, you know?
Right.
Or like, you know, we're apparently like we're really good at leaderships or like being diplomatic because we don't show all of our emotions in a lot of moments. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I would say what's so interesting about just doing this podcast, I've been interviewing a lot of Cancers, and I don't know what that is, but there's been a lot of Cancers, and my dad is a Cancer.
We water signs get along. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. And then my dad's a Cancer, and he has the same birthday as Tom Cruise, which is hilarious because you brought up Tom Cruise.
That was recently, I think.
Yeah, July 3rd.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about the In Trive and the Cancers.
Yeah.
And, you know.
So what's your dad's next big stunt?
It's funny. I think whenever I watch Tom Cruise, I just get this like excitement because he and my dad don't look alike, but he reminds me so much of my dad.
Yeah.
My dad is like just adventurous, you know, a little just like woohoo, you know, like whatever. I remember as a kid, and to this day, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to do that. But swimming in the bayou where there's like alligators and stuff.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Like my cousins and
Is that considered a normal thing?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, the kids can go, it's fine.
Yeah.
Or is it everyone knows if you're going to do that, that's some crazy.
As a kid, I never even thought about alligators. And then I just remember one time like being in a boat, like a little like canoe, we call them pirogues, and like sitting in one and like rowing and then being like, oh, there's an alligator. And then like literally it dawning on me like, oh my God, I used to swim in this.
That's crazy.
You know? But anyway, I remember like swimming in the bayou, my cousins and I, and looking up, and it was like this like high bridge, and my dad was just like on the edge of it. People were like, no, Michael, don't jump. And he's like, whoa. And just like literally jumps off the bridge into the bayou and like totally comes up okay.
Your dad's cool as shit.
Yeah, just be like, yeah, that's my version of Tom Cruise right there.
Then.
That's my dad. So
oh man.
Yeah.
Cheers to him.
I know. Cheers. Yeah. Cheers to my dad, Michael. So
to Michael.
Yeah.
Do you have a top 5 Tom Cruise movies list?
Well, actually, Aaron and I have been watching all of the Mission Impossibles lately.
I did that too.
Really?
3 weeks ago.
We're about to watch
them.
6, and so
have you seen it before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I've seen all of them. I would say in terms of top 5, I love Night and Day. Him and Cameron Diaz, incredible.
That's like one of her last movies before she
I think so, right?
I guess retired.
Yeah.
Effectively. Yeah.
Minority Report. And then my favorite Mission Impossibles in order, I would say number 1, number 3, and number 5.
I might put 5 as my favorite of the Mission Impossibles.
It's so good. But something about 3 was like...
And 3 is so good. You could see the prototype. You could see like that became the template going forward because they figured it out. Mm-hmm. I think 5 for me still had the level of don't take yourself so seriously. Mm-hmm. Super high stakes.
Yeah.
But a level of fun.
Yeah.
And then Fallout
you add like Benji in there in a bigger role. Yeah.
Adding Benji, adding Rebecca Ferguson, I think was such a great, like what an incredible character. So having rewatched it, I was like, I think 5 might be my favorite.
Yeah. I know. I was kind of debating that too, but then I was like, man, nothing beats number 1 because it's so nostalgic. And then number 3, I was like,
it's a totally different movie.
It's dark. But you just kind of like, you're in it. I don't know. I was just like, I'm in this. Yeah. I'm committed, you know?
Yeah.
And then 5, obviously, for all the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
I also have to put for me up there, like as far as like top Tom Cruise movies, it's got to be like Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh my God, I forgot to even mention that. I literally watched that movie. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm like packing or doing work, I just have that movie just like playing back to back. I remember one time Aaron was like, "You're watching this again?" I was like, "Yeah."
Do I need to explain myself?
I know, yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, just I can't even believe I'm blanking on her name right now.
Emily Blunt.
Yes,
Yeah,
Emily
yeah.
Blunt. I was going to say Emma Blunt.
Yep.
Emily Blunt. Love her. Love the chemistry between those
the
two. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I love the most about Tom Cruise, and this is something like I observe in younger actors nowadays that don't want to do this, and Tom Cruise does this so perfectly. Like, he's not afraid to take the punch, you know, like to get to, I feel like we're so conditioned as a society and even as actors sometimes to play the hero or like whenever you're playing the tough person, you don't get knocked down, you don't get hit, you don't, you know, like you don't show that you got a little dust on you, you know?
I think I pick up on exactly what you're saying. And I think he does a great thing of that, a great performance of that in something like Edge of Tomorrow, where there are moments where his character has egg on his face.
Yeah.
There's a terrific moment, speaking of like all-time favorite Tom Cruise, is like, Maverick. But that moment where, spoiler if you haven't seen it, like you really should. But the moment where after he does he pulls that, I guess you would call it the stunt where he demonstrates the test behind everyone's back. And because now he's ruined the plane, and John Hamm is like, what do I do? You tell me what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Do I fire you? Or do I make you squad leader? And so he's about to speak, and then the colonel standing next to him, Cyclone, or
Oh, well,
is it Cyclone? No, it's not Cyclone.
No.
Warlock says to him, he's like, I think the Admiral was speaking rhetorically. And then he's like, oh, right.
Yeah.
But like, to be able to take yourself down like that, which doesn't seem like that big a deal to you and I, but like, I don't see a lot of other stars doing that. Not because they don't want to, but...
No, I think a lot of stars are afraid of it hurting their brand. And I do think that a lot of like younger actors too are afraid of showing any sign of weakness as a character or even just as an actor. And I just, as an audience member, you know, watching those moments, I'm like, it just makes the person more real.
Incredibly endearing also.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
Funny.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you know, like anybody, you know, like that moment that you're talking about in Top Gun, it's just like your boss is reaming you and you say something snarky and you get checked on that. Like in real life, inside, you're going to be like, okay.
I mean,
you know, but you're not just going to be like,
no, he could, like anybody else could have been too cool for school in that moment, but he chose to make that character like, oh shit, this is serious. My ass is on the line. My job is on the line. This isn't just about me in this moment. And, I thought that was just pitch perfect.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's the one thing I love about watching him. And then whenever I go back and watch some old like Harrison Ford movies, he does the same thing, you know, like I love he has that look in his eyes. Like, I feel like today, so many young actors are just very much like, I'm just going to be stone cold and nothing's going to like affect me or impact me and I'm going to save the day. And it's just like, all right, but show that you got, show you got nicked a little bit.
I heard
like,
there's a couple of action stars, prominent contemporary action stars.
No names, right? Maybe,
I mean, I can.
know.
Y'all know who they are, but I'm not going to name names just because I haven't verified this information. But I've heard there's a couple of guys out there who have it in their contracts that they won't lose fights on camera.
Yeah, I've heard
and
that
I'm like, look, for me, it's like if the story requires it, and if it's in line with the character, and like Tom Cruise. In his characters, he loses fights. He gets kicked down. He gets chewed out. And
it's like whenever he wins the next fight, he barely wins it.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's a stroke of luck, like in Mission Impossible 1.
Right.
The helicopter
Which also makes it more fun to watch. Because you're like,
Yeah.
how does this, like we figure, we assume he's going to come out alive and we assume he's going to win and solve the mission. But like, how? And to have that moment of like, oh, he might not pull this off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I, you know, have observed and, you know, even when I'm working on the Oval, it's something I try to bring to it as well. You know, it's like, I mean, it's a soap opera. It's very different. It's not action driven. I'm not literally physically fighting. Well, I have my characters gotten choked out and stuff like that before, but
hot.
Yeah, exactly. But I do try to, as best as I can, like there's moments where my character is like standing up to the first lady or, you know, telling someone off or whatever. And it's like, I try my hardest to do those moments and then, you know, kind of show to the camera like, oh my God, I just did that. You know, like my character just was like, okay, and I got away with that. Yes, sir. You know, like type of thing.
Do you feel like you're usually in a box or free of any lines or any constraints or boxes because your character is not the first lady? You are not the president. You don't have a preconceived notion of what your job is supposed to be. And because you get into all kinds of shit like that, like, does that feel free?
Yes, I really, yes and no. I guess, gosh, there's so many.
Because if I'm playing the president, I already have an idea of how I'm supposed to act, which is not helpful to an actor.
Yeah.
It is, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't.
Well, I think the beautiful thing with that show too, it's so much not about the professions. It's really about the drama that's going on behind the scenes. It is so crazy. It's insane. But yeah, I think, you know, the freedom with, I feel like as an actor, I have a lot of freedom with that character and I can try different things. And I'll even say as much like, hey, I just want to try something, like delete it or tell me no, you know, tell me to do it differently after I try it, you know? And so, yeah, so the cool thing about my character, which I think is very different from the other characters on the show, is you do get to see her at home a lot. She's not really a part of that world. And so I can play a little bit with like different layers of her and kind of literally show on screen the moments where my character is acting, you know, where she's like, all right, I'm going to put a brave face on and try to like act like tough chick. And then when the scene's over or, you know, that character exits and I'm like, oh my God, I just did that, you know, like that type of deal.
I think there's something very fun about showing, it's not duplicitousness. It's being able to put on a face for somebody else in the scene and then let the audience see the other face. Yeah.
It's something I have to give a shout out to my old acting coach, Hank Bearings. I mean, he really was trying to like instill that in me a lot of just like show the audience that you're calculating in your mind, show the audience that you're trying to figure something out, show the audience that you're confused and you're lost, you know, show the audience that you don't have it all together in this moment. I
realize why certain kinds of movies I really fall in the mood for every now and again. Like it was about a couple of years ago, I was really in the mood for heist movies. And then I was like, I'm like, okay, National Treasure 1 and 2 are like a couple of my favorite movies because it feels like you're in an escape room. Yeah. Because you're seeing them like solve the puzzle and you're kind of like, they have literal puzzles in those movies, but like things like the Da Vinci Code even, you know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, we have the clue, go to the next. And like, it's why I like things like Law and Order work. Me too. Like that's why it runs for like 20, 30 years is because there's like a mechanism in terms of like how the storytelling assembly line works there. It's like the audience is like, we want to see the wheels turn. We want to see the cogs in the character's brain solving something. And that's never not alluring. That's always attractive as an audience.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to try to play too, you know? Yeah. Okay. So I want to just dive into you and your journey. Do you have like, what is your earliest childhood memory that you have that you felt was kind of like the catalyst that led you to want to be a performer, an actor?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask what was my earliest childhood memory, because I was like, that's a very silly memory.
Well, I want to hear both because it probably literally plays into each other.
I don't think this one does. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, but you know, enlighten me. I want to hear.
Okay, so the first time I felt like the idea or the concept of being a performer sounded like a thing, I don't know how or why, but randomly my parents owned a VHS copy of the movie Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Oh, I don't know that movie.
It's an old musical.
Okay.
Legendary composer, choreographer. Oh my goodness, the name totally escapes me right now. But it's a classic. Now, the story itself is kind of dated and the premise is a little bit like, ugh, you know. Mm-hmm. But then I talked to a friend of mine who, she describes herself as very like, just, you know, modern. Like, sure, feminist, sure. But like, the idea of like this, the main female character like taking agency for herself in a subverted kind of way. Mm-hmm. But within the movie, there's like dance battles and there's like these macho men who learn to become a little bit more, they get the My Fair Lady treatment from their sister-in-law. Okay. And they team up and they band together and they fight off these yuppie townsfolk in a barn raising contest. And it's somehow like silly because it's like a musical theater sort of dance off, but it's also very cool at the same time because they are actually very acrobatic, and you see these guys doing all their own stunts.
Okay.
It's all long takes. Oh man, I forgot his name. But he plays Gideon, the little brother. He's also Riff he originated Riff in West Side Story.
Oh,
Russ
wow.
Tamlin.
It's funny
Russ
because
Tamlin.
like as
and he's doing all of his own stuff.
Because as you're saying this, I'm thinking of West Side Story, and I was like,
Russ Tamlin.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's super athletic, and you can find old videos of him where he's doing long, uncut takes, like jumping off of things and swinging around and doing gymnastics and dancing. I'm like, holy crap, people don't do this anymore. I mean, there are a lot of people who can, but like we just don't shoot things like that anymore.
Yeah.
So I remember that was very like, I was like 3 or 4 or 5, and I was watching these movies incessantly, and just like, for some reason I was just addicted to it. And I think there was like because the brothers at one point, they're all wearing their own unique bold colored shirt. It had a bit of a Power Rangers kind of feel to it to me.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, there's like a team up here, and everybody has their own specialties, and everyone is contributing, and at the end they succeed, or there's a happy ending for them, right? And I think that was the first time I was like very the light went off in my head. Like, oh, these are people performing and doing a thing, and that looks so fun, and I wish I could do that too. I think that might be the first time I thought anything about that.
Wow.
Like it sparked my imagination that kind of way. But then it was also a lot of like martial arts films and kung fu movies and things like that. Like I wanted to do that. I was like 5 and I was watching Jet Li, Jackie Chan. For some reason, I didn't love Bruce Lee movies as much because it was just like, it was brutal. And the Jackie Chan flair of comedy and a bit of silliness and very heightened reality with the stunts and the way he would flip ladders and other props around his head and swing it around, and he'd jump through, like Rumble in the Bronx is a terrific stunt where he jumps through a shopping cart from the backside up and around, and then he I think he kicks a refrigerator door into a bad guy's head or something like that.
Oh my God.
But that level of imagination and inventiveness, I was like, things like that really was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know? And then my earliest memory, I think that has nothing to do with
I want to
performing.
hear it. It could.
So
it
stupid.
could.
I think I might have been 2. I was sitting in my living room on the carpet, just minding my own business, and I started to stick my finger. I was just like playing around. I might have been picking my nose or sticking my finger in my mouth, as one does.
Yes, when you're 2. Yes.
Yeah, you and I were just doing that before we started rolling.
Yeah, we were.
I think I had this thought of like, okay, this is a hole. Like your mouth is a type of hole, and then so are your nostrils. And I thought, what if I stick my finger up through the roof of my mouth, and then it can come out my nose. But that's when I discovered that you have a roof of your mouth.
Yes.
And that doesn't work. I mean, you can. You just have to go really far back and it'd be really painful. But I thought I could do like right here, right behind the teeth. No, that doesn't. Kids, it doesn't work.
I love that. You know, they say that your earliest childhood memory is literally the moment where you like got consciousness. Apparently.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. It's deep. It's deep.
I messed up on that.
When you learn it, like you're human, apparently. Like, and that, but what you just said makes so much sense.
No,
though.
I was like 2.
No, but if
I'm
you're like,
so late to that.
You're like, wait, hold on. I can't do that. I'm not like just a blob of energy, you know?
That sounds a lot more sophisticated than what I just
It's
what
pretty
I just
deep.
described.
It's deep. But yeah. We'll have to have somebody analyze
I'll
that.
have to tell my parents, like, hey, this is what your sweet baby boy was doing. Your
We all
bright,
have those
smart
moments.
kid with so much potential.
So just going back though to, you watching that movie, being so impacted and inspired by it.
Yeah.
Were your parents were they on board at an early age with you of like, hey, it looks like he wants to get into performing arts. Like, let's nurture this.
No, it was never like we need to pursue it in the professional sense. Some parents do.
Yeah.
They'll put their kids in theater camp and they'll be like, well, I don't know how much of a conversation those parents or kids have about pursuing Broadway and professional industry things after school ends, after like college and stuff like that. But like, there wasn't really any kind of specific conversation about like, we're going to make a concerted effort to pursue performing things. However, I did do that as a kid. Like I went to a Kempo karate school when I was a kid. My brother and I both went to the same one together, and we joined the demo team, short for demonstration team. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of being in front of a crowd, doing like a little thing, like we each have been doing that since we were little.
Oh, nice.
So the idea of being on in front of a group of people for a very specific routine wasn't Like I became acquainted to that at like the age of like 9.
Okay.
And for some reason, I always really craved the attention of being someone who could like, I always wanted to be funny. I wanted so badly to be funny, and I wanted to be liked for being funny at a young age. And then when you're that young and you're trying to be funny, it usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trial and error in that sense. But I can remember at a young age, like just craving that, seeking that kind of attention and that kind of validation. And also being like, especially when you can land a joke and you can get a laugh.
Yeah.
Like I became aware of that and addicted to that at a young age.
Were you kind of like a class clown in a certain...
I don't think I was ever considered a class clown. I think I was always an aspiring failed class clown. I didn't have a lot of friends for a while.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then eventually I started to make friends, and yeah. But like I found that my humor is a big part of my life. It's a self-defense mechanism. It's a coping mechanism. It's a ice-breaking thing. Like my dad isn't known to be very funny, so they say. We have family friends and his customers thinks he's hilarious. But by default and by laws of nature, I, as his son, am not supposed to think he's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you like it's crazy to me when kids say like, oh, my dad is the funniest guy I know. I'm like, my dad says
like,
such
what?
stupid like
Yeah.
he'll say things that don't even have a punchline. It's not even like a dad joke. It's like his own brand of like non-joke, and people laugh, and I'm like, this is no, don't
Yeah.
don't enable him.
I love that though.
But then as I get older, I realize I'm like, okay, if I become a dad one day, like I'm already this is already happening, but like I will be a Phil Dunphy.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, no, I reek of like Phil Dunphy energy now. It's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll
Yeah.
accept that.
Yeah.
So, your parents, though, like, what are their professions? What were they?
My dad is in the jewelry business.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
Well, hello.
Yeah.
Now I know who to hit up.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, if you want.
Okay.
But he goes to like, so in the movie Uncut Gems, it takes place in and around 47th Street,
Okay.
but that's the Diamond District of New York.
Ah.
So like my dad will do some business there sometimes, and like
Oh wow.
he has like working relationships with people who work in that geographical vicinity. Not Adam Sandler. Like he doesn't work with Adam Sandler, but like yeah. So at a young age,
cool.
I grew up around stones, diamonds, like.
And you can look at one and tell if it's real or not.
I can't.
Okay.
I didn't put in that kind of time and whatever. Like it was never my passion to pursue that. Like, but no, that's what my parents did. Like that was like they raised.
And your
us.
mom does that too?
She
Okay.
worked with them there, and now she doesn't do that anymore. But there's so many like skills, and there's so much customer relations that that I grew up seeing my parents do. And so my dad, like he's a great salesman, like, and he sells like his personality, and people like they love that attention. They love the way he disarms people with humor. Mm-hmm. Like even though I don't. Even though I have my own brand of humor, he has his own brand.
Yeah.
That being said, we each have the same tactics in terms of like moving through the professional world or personal or interpersonal communication with making a new friend. Like we're very similar in that way, too similar in that way, right? And it was at working, I'd help out my parents in the store, and it was there that I actually gained confidence in talking to actual grown-ups.
Yeah.
Who gave me the time of day. Now, they could have just been humoring me because they're my parents' kid.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe not.
But the people, my parents' employees and the customers, even if they were just humoring me, they talked to me like they didn't condescend to me as a child.
Nice.
They talked to me like a mutual adult.
Nice.
And they gave me they were kind enough to give me that respect to talk to me like an adult. So I learned to talk to grown-ups. I learned to talk to people at a young age, which I hear that the current generation is, because we're more digital now, or less connected to people face to face now. Like I didn't grow up being afraid to call people on the phone.
Nice. I mean,
For the most part. No, I am now
I can't
too.
call people on the
Well, it depends on the subject matter.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's like, all right, my
if
mom
somebody's
be like,
calling me, I'm like, I'm good. I don't
well, no,
wanna
me
talk.
too. Me
Yeah.
too. It's like I'll like hide under my behind my couch if I have to. I'll hear the doorbell like if I'm at home and
you're not
if I'm
answering.
visiting my parents' house back home, like I'm I hear the doorbell. I'm like, don't even breathe. Don't let them know I'm home. Like,
I don't. Yeah, I'm the same way.
it's such a millennial thing.
Yeah,
It's great.
it is. No, but that's so important though that you got that experience early on because, like you said, I mean, the kids nowadays, they don't really have that. And I think that it's definitely a confidence booster. It's a life skills thing that like you got just the privilege to have that, you know, at a young age. And to also be around adults that weren't like, who's this cute little kid? You know,
there's
like
that.
You know,
I could feel adults like staring at me because like, oh, that's his son. Like, oh, and I could feel. I learned at a young age what it was to be on and to know you're being watched and to watch what you say.
Yeah.
Because I'm here to work. I'm here to like help make the sale, and I'm also here to like. There's a level of trust that the customers want to have. I mean, we're talking any line of business. This isn't just my dad's business, right? This is anywhere you go.
And this was in New York?
This is in New York.
Queens?
I was born in Queens. I grew up in Long Island in the suburbs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I learned those kinds of interpersonal skills. And were it not for that, I think I would have been even more awkward as a kid or lacked even more confidence. Like, you know, because I just didn't, I don't know. I had a little bit of trouble connecting with kids in school, but doesn't everybody, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
but I mean, it's real that some have, you know, more struggles or challenges than others. And so, you know,
I didn't have time to like process like any social anxiety. It was just kind of like, well, customer's here. Ask them if they need help. Go do it. That's it.
Yeah. Wow. And so from Queens, did you go to performing arts high school or college?
I didn't. I went to a normal ass high school.
Okay.
Just with regular aspirations of like at one point I was just senior in high school. I was like, oh, I think I might want to be a guidance counselor.
Wow.
Because I think I didn't want to be a teacher, but the idea of working in education was really appealing to me. I was like, well, I can make a difference. I can help people, that sort of thing. And then I got to start undergrad. I went to Hofstra University, which is not far from where I grew up.
Okay.
And then at one point I really thought I was going to pursue finance.
Wow.
No, in what world am I gonna? No. The reason why I considered that was because a family friend's son-in-law studied finance at Fordham.
I wanted to go to Fordham really badly.
I thought about it, but the only reason why I even thought about it was because Tim is doing very well for himself. He's the youngest senior VP at MasterCard on the East Coast, and asked him what he studied. Well, he's like, I studied finance at Fordham. Really like nice guy, and he gave me the time of day, and it's like, this is what I studied, and you can do that too. And you know, so I got stuck in my head. I was like, I gotta go study finance somewhere, maybe Fordham, you know, and because he's doing really well, and I need to do all the same things he's doing. And so the idea of like pursuing something like acting as a career, not anywhere in my view. Not anywhere.
Wow.
That was never a conversation. Because like people like me, people who look like me, that's not what we do. Not here, not in the States. You know, that's not real. That's we don't see people like us on the screen. So like for me, it was, I never thought it was possible. Not that anybody ever told me like, hey, you shouldn't do that. But it was just like you are the product of what you see and experience and sense around you. So that's kind of mostly what that was.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I happened to get recommended by somebody said like a professor of mine said like, oh, I have a colleague of mine in a different department who's seeking Asian actor. They need an Asian actor for this play. And then I was like, oh, I happened to be curious. It piqued my curiosity. And I was like, sure, I'll audition. And I think I might have been the only guy who auditioned for that part, but like,
wow.
I got the part. And
wait, what year were you in school?
I was a freshman.
Freshman, okay.
And I was really struggling. And at that point I was like, well, do I study finance because, you know, like my parents are paying for school, and the idea of like, I felt like I was betraying that by not committing to a very serious field of study, like finance. And I'm like, am I really around and go do theater? Am I going to be a theater major? How do I sell that to my parents?
Yeah.
How am I going to explain that to them? You know?
Wow.
I was like, well, I can do a play and study finance or anything else. Like you're allowed to do a play. That's fine. So I did that. And then, so that was like my first ever play. And then from there, I just kept at it. And I was auditioning for commercials outside of that. Cause I just happened upon this, a manager, and she saw, I guess, a lot of like raw ability. And like, she said, a few people told me this over the years when I was starting out. They would say, you got a great look. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'll take it. Yeah, I feel like I've always had like a very commercial friendly kind of presence. So I booked like a lot of commercials back starting out. That's all I kind of could book. Like I didn't have acting ability. I didn't know how to be on a set otherwise. Because commercials for me was pretty quick, pretty like a tight schedule. In no way am I saying it's easy. I'm just saying that I happened to book it early on and I happened to gain the experience early on. So I started to figure it out sooner than other things. Whereas for TV and film, I really didn't know how to audition. I barely knew how to audition for commercials.
But a lot of people don't. Like now,
that's true.
It's a lot.
It's a complete craft that I didn't realize was its own craft.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah.
And people have asked me like, oh, what's it like getting into it? Like, what do I need to do to be an actor? What do I need to get good at? And I'm like, well, okay, auditioning is its own craft, right? And I say there's a difference between being smart and knowing how to take the, you be a good actor, but a really auditioner.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Not as common. I don't know how many people we know who are great auditioners and just not good actors.
I don't know. Some people I reserve judgment, but
sure.
But sometimes I'm like, what did they do in the audition?
But some people get away with raw likability and there's an attraction to them. There's an it factor and it is real.
Yeah.
And best way to see that is especially if you're an upcoming actor. I mean, unfortunately, we can't do this as much anymore, but the in-person audition. Mm-hmm. Well, no, if you could do it on Zoom, if you get an opportunity to be on the other side, on the casting side for anything, even if it's like a low budget or anything, and you can learn so much. And seeing other people either succeed or flub or not or bomb their auditions, and just take it all in and see what's working for actors and what isn't working for actors.
Yeah.
In that situation.
So true.
Yeah.
I've been on the other side, and you're like, oh man, like this is what you do to get the job, and then it's what you don't do to get the job. It's
even then, depending on the day and depending who's sitting in the room, that all can change too all of a sudden.
So true.
Because it's so subjective.
So subjective. I can't even say it because it's like that. Okay, so freshman year of college, you're about to, you're studying finance, or you're thinking about it,
and then I didn't.
You didn't.
No.
You start doing plays, start booking commercials.
Yeah.
Did you stick it out in college? Did you change your major?
By the time I declared, I only ever officially declared one major, which was public relations. And for a good couple of years, I really thought that that's what I was going to do. I had a proper internship because that's what's required by the department. You have to fulfill your internship credits. Mm-hmm. I got one at Forbes.com.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was cool. Like, well, my mom, being the person who asks questions and the person who is always looking out for her kids. We had a customer who was, I forget her exact title. Something like she worked the desk, like she was like either the assistant or the secretary or the personal assistant or something like that to the CEO of Forbes' website.
Oh, wow.
So at the time, I believe it was like there was Forbes magazine, which was its own building by Union Square. And then there was Forbes Media, or the Forbes.com building, which was its own building, and they had their own CEO. So she worked for that guy, and she was a customer of my parents. And my mom was just like, my son is looking for an internship. Do you happen to know if there's anything available, or could you point him in the right direction? And she was like, yeah, I'll talk to somebody. And they got me an internship at Forbes.com. So I spent the summer interning there on the PR side.
Oh my gosh. What did you learn from doing that?
I worked there a couple days a week. Mm-hmm. And I kind of learned how like so many jobs are so tedious and you're compiling a lot of information and contacts. And I was like, Forbes is very well known for their lists. Mm-hmm. Like there was one list, it was like the valuations of like minor league baseball teams.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I would like Google and compile some information with that. And then I would send that to my boss and then they would pitch these stories. We would pitch stories to people about that kind of stuff. I think I learned quite a bit, but also not that much. It's not like I could become a PR professional all of a sudden. It was like, it was just very eye opening. It was like, what I did learn was like, okay, you're gonna have to learn a lot and it's a lot of hours. And it's a very in-depth kind of field that I felt a little bit obligated to because I knew I didn't belong in a very traditional office setting. And this job had a lot of flexibility in terms of like, you get to work with people, you have to problem solve and be creative and think on your feet and have good working relationships and be communicative with a lot of people. And those aspects of the job is what attracted me, I found, not the job itself.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I can see that. That
And
makes
then
sense.
I was graduating during the time of the Great Recession.
Yep.
And there were almost no jobs to be had. And then I just had a bit of a early quarter life crisis where I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I remember being on set for a commercial, like a local non-union kind of thing. I was non-union at the time. And I just like came to life. I was just so happy to be there.
Oh, wow.
And it was just a appliance store commercial. It wasn't anything grand. We weren't making deep art of any kind, but I just remember feeling like, this is where I belong. And this is like 2 weeks before graduation, before college graduation. I had to and it clicked, and I was like, oh no, I gotta tell my parents. Like, I don't want to do this. I think I want to pursue acting.
Wow.
And I remember there was a friend of mine, a classmate of mine, who was also a fellow PR major. And I remember she was like, hey, how you doing? And because I'd asked her how she was doing, because she had just lost her mom to ovarian cancer. So we were just both sitting in the computer lab doing our projects together because we were in the same class. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, I'm hanging in there. I'm okay. And she's like, how are you? And I was like, I'm just just kind of stressing out about this. Like, I don't think I want to do this. And she said something that I'll never forget. She's like, I basically explained to her, like, I don't think I want to do PR, but I'm scared because it means that because I want to do that, and that's terrifying, and how dare I? Because I feel like I'm letting my family down, letting my parents down.
Yeah.
There's that aspect of it too. Aside from the fact that acting is just an insane, improbable industry, all that stuff aside, I felt like I was betraying my parents and my family by doing that. And also, like, the family finances were super tight for many years, and I just kind of felt it was upon my shoulders to dive into the workforce and start making real money to help out the family. My brother even called me out. He was in high school. He's like, this wasn't the plan. You were supposed to get a job. You're supposed to help out the family. And like, this is a very young, mature man. And I felt all this stress. And like, then my classmate Chrissy says, she's like, well, think about this. What if everyone you love and everyone whose opinions you care about, what if they were all gone today? What would you do for yourself tomorrow?
Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, Chrissy Wilson. I think she's married and so she has a different name now. But that stuck with me for a long time. So I was like, yeah, I know what I would do. I'm gonna pursue that.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, granted, that everyone I love wasn't going away that day, and so I had to face the reality of like, all right, I gotta felt like I was. Like, you don't understand, when you're an Asian, you gotta come out to your parents and tell them you're an actor. Like, it's a little scary. Your dad says, not in my house.
Yes.
No son of mine is gonna be an actor. And my mom, like, it's like she knew before. Oh my God, it really feels like I came out. My mom kind of knew before I did. And
oh, wow.
it really like.
Yeah.
But she was like, I know. And she's like, I think you should do it. And I believe in you. And I think you can do it.
Wow.
So she was pushing me from the very beginning.
Wow.
She's like, if you want to, she let me know that she supported me. And
my dad touches my heart, man.
Oh, yeah,
it does.
No, I don't think I'd be here without her. I really don't think I'd be doing any of this without her.
Wow.
Is the truth of it. Because I've always very often in my life, I've needed a positive push and a nudge of some kind. I need someone to be like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Stop thinking, go.
Yeah.
Go do it. Jump. Wow. And my dad, on the other hand, he was worried.
Yeah.
Because he knows
which is like,
I think very normal parent
it's
reaction.
a normal thing. But I'm sure like when you're young and, you're looking up at your parents and your dad in particular, it's just like, you don't want to.
He knows that Asians weren't typically getting cast in things. And, he did neither parents know the industry. What they understand of it is from their own perception of it and what I've explained to them.
Yeah.
We don't have any Hollywood connections. You know what I mean? Like we're very statistically, like, I'm just like, I've been so fortunate. But if you're looking at the numbers and the probability, I'm like, I'm technically not supposed to be here.
Yeah. No, it's again, my law of attraction and, all that stuff. But there is that reality aspect to it. And I mean, even, from where I come from as well, like I totally relate because I'm a Black female, and from the third ward of New Orleans, and like there was no one in my
you're not from
neighborhood.
LA or New York.
No, and we had no connections, nothing like that. And I just remember going to theater school, and like there were kids. You know, I was the only black girl in my class, and you know there were all the white kids. Some of them knew somebody in the business, and then our teachers knew people in the business. And the favorites that they had, they were hooking them up with their agents and casting director friends and stuff. And and it's just like, there was just always, which I feel that you have, is just kind of that almost like ignorant faith in terms of like, I'm going to just try this thing.
Blind faith.
Yeah. Like a blind faith of like, I'm going to try this thing and let me just see where it goes, Yeah.
I just knew that like at the time that I was graduating and the time that I made up my mind that this is what I was going to pursue, I just knew that, okay, this recession isn't going to last forever. Mm-hmm. But I just couldn't let myself be the guy who got the job and what I was supposed to get, let 5 years of my life go by, and then hate myself. Yeah. I just didn't want to be that guy. Yeah. What was I going to do? Be the funniest, most charismatic guy in the office?
So deep.
I could have. I mean, I could be. I'm
so true.
Fairly marginally charming. Like I've learned to grow a decent comedic timing. I grew a personality in middle school because I wasn't cool. Like oh no, I just would have been sitting in whatever small pond, wherever the hell I ended up in the workforce. I just knew that it was eventually never going to feel like enough. And I knew that I had to. I'm like, if I'm going to crash and burn, I have to see the flames.
You got to do it.
I have to let it engulf me to learn. Okay, no, you don't belong in the entertainment world. Mm-hmm. That's so. I just had this like. It's weird because I've struggled with confidence issues and insecurity all my life, and yet this was the one thing that I carried a level of like, yeah, no, you're gonna go for it. Yeah. Yeah, one day you'll get hired.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I felt that. I still feel that, I'm just like, I have my days, my moments, and then like, oh, you got an audition. Okay, let me do it.
Right. And then you get the audition for the thing you really want, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if I'm pretty enough. I don't know if I look the part. I don't know if I'm good enough.
So, all right. I want to get into the LA of it all too.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I do want to talk about everything leading up to Kung Fu. But so, you take this leap, you talk to your parents. Mm-hmm. How long after that did you move to LA?
Only a few years. Because, I graduated, and then the year after that, I hit the pavement. I started hitting. Hit the pavement? Hit the ground running?
Yeah, hit the ground running.
Started pounding the pavement right away.
Yeah.
I started with any little bit of information I had. I was always trying to acquire more. How do you do this? And so the first thing I did was, a friend of mine told me, she's like, well, I signed up for these casting director workshops at this place in the city, because she did it too. And I followed the same path. And it was there I met a few casting directors, a couple of whom brought me in to read for things. I was so green. Yeah. Holy crap.
Was this 2008, by the way?
At this point, it's like 2009, 2010.
Yeah, because I was out there during that time too. So I wonder if we ever were in the same waiting room at one point or something.
Probably. I was going to one-on-one NYC. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I was going there a lot. That's where my classes were. I was taking classes with Bob Krakauer a lot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. He's a man.
Whoa, yeah.
What a great teacher. I missed that class so much. And then I remember signing up for, my friend said to me, Yin Chang, by the way, she's a New York based. She and I took our first acting classes together at this place out in Long Island, like near where we're both from. That's where we met. She was like the first. Yeah, she's the first industry friend I've ever made.
Wow.
And she went on to book a couple Law and Orders. She had this juicy, great, memorable recurring guest star, Nelly Yuki, on Gossip Girl.
Oh, wow.
They even brought her back for the reboot and they rebooted it.
Nice.
Yeah. But she's running this amazing charity organization called Heart of Dinner in New York. And they've done amazing things, and they're getting their recognition, which is great. But she told me, like, take your training seriously, take classes, and I'm seeing her as like succeeding and killing it and doing great. And I was like, whatever you say, I will do it.
Yeah.
So I met Marcy Phillips. She's last I checked, she's the head of ABC casting in the New York office.
Yeah.
and she is such a beautiful person, like loves to teach. She loves actors, loves to teach actors. And she gave me a great foundation to start with, even though I knew nothing. I was sitting in a room full of seasoned auditioners.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I was so ignorant and naive, because had I really understood who I was. I mean, I knew I was the greenest kid in the room. I knew I was like a baby compared to these people. But I was just like, well, I have to start somewhere, and this is the best. I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
And then from there, I met classmates who pointed me to the Esper studio.
Oh, wow.
And one of them said to me, like, well, Marcy told you in class that you have something that can't be taught. That being said, go get taught. And I was like, okay, yeah, tell me where to go.
Yeah.
So I interviewed, and I got accepted into the 2-year program.
Nice.
And then, so that's where the formal training started.
Wow.
And my teachers, I had several teachers, but my acting teachers, though, were Deb Jackal, David Newer, year 1, year 2.
David Newer. Oh my God. He came to our school.
You know David?
Yeah. He did a whole workshop semester with us on Meisner. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What school was this?
North Carolina School of the Arts.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's cool people. I
had him
like
for
David.
a whole year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I had such a great combination of like this like 1-2 punch of Deb and David for like what they provided me, the way they shaped my training and my education at that developmental stage for me was crucial. I found it to be. I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful I had those two, and I'm so glad I had this training, and I'm so glad I went through this whole freaking thing.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, it was so like you learn so much about yourself, and that's I think a lot of what the work is about. I think a lot of people are like, how do I send my headshot? How do I get seen by such and such casting director? And I think a lot of people are very eager and like very excited, and that's great. And I'm like, oh, okay, I need to do a lot of work on myself as part of the acting work.
Yeah.
Like we don't realize how much that's part of the work as well. To really be self-aware, to really know who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you sad, what made you cry 10 years ago, you might not give a shit about. It was completely like a speck of dust off your shoulder a year from now, like 10 years later. Yeah. You know, because a lot of people talk about like, oh, effective memory and thinking about the time that your dog died and blah, blah. And then you get older and one day you're like, yeah, that was sad at the time. I'm over it now. But you need to be aware of those things. Yeah.
Just like you said, just self-aware as a person, and like really bring that whole total humanness to a character is so, I just think it's key. And that's just, that's stuff that can't really be taught. You know, I feel like it's a hard thing to, it's almost like growing pains, but I don't know. I don't have the right word for it, but it's just like a total body scan of just who you are. And in those moments when you're going through those tough times, you know, you remember it, you kind of keep score, and then like, a part of it, you bring it to the work, but then you also don't bring it to the work because you don't want to like be re-wounding yourself every time too. Yeah. You know, so it's an interesting thing being an actor, I would say.
It is. And you have to, you can't be afraid to get in the lab and throw paint around and let things get messy. And sometimes you just got to take apart the whole engine. Yeah. You know, and that can look a little ugly. Mm-hmm. Or ugly is a judgmental word. What I mean is I think that I'm afraid that it's gonna look ugly, but then I get in there, I'm like, yeah, well, this is really illuminating. But that's I'm really glad I did this.
Yeah, that's like the most beautiful part of it when you think it looks ugly, you know?
Because it's human.
It's human.
And we all go through similar or the same. Yeah, exactly. You know, what makes up our collective humanity, and you find that we're all actually very similar. But if you're going to be the storyteller, if you're going to be the vessel that shares those stories, you got to do a lot more. You got to do that much more work in being qualified and equipped to handle that. Yeah.
Okay. So this is perfect because I want to talk about this. It's important to talk about. And if you feel comfortable talking about it, great. If you don't, then we'll move on. Yeah. But, you know, doing the work, not so much the acting work, but the work of you. You know, I remember you and I met Ciera Mornell's class, right? That's how we met. Yeah. But we were, you know,
I think like I put out a thing like, can somebody help me like tape or get off book? And you responded, and that's how we became friends.
Exactly. Yeah. And we were just like two actors just trying to figure all this stuff out. But we would have these conversations about like mindset shift and positive thinking. And then I think one day we were at that law of attraction.
We both happened to be there.
And I was like, wait, you come here? Like, you know, you're like, you come here? And I was
I had just started, but you had already been.
Yeah. And so
that place was so helpful for me.
It was for me too. You know,
shout out to Mike and Ramona.
Yes. Hey, y'all. I haven't been in a meeting in a while, but you know, I just, from the outside looking in, I feel like after you started going to those meetings, like pretty quickly, a lot of things started to change for you, you know, and career wise, I felt like.
Yeah. Even though at the time I didn't have a lot to show for it, but like my mindset did start to get a lot healthier.
Yeah. Yep. And so I'm curious if you're open to sharing, like, what were the things that really, what were the little nuggets or things that you just started implementing in your life and in your career to just kind of shift things around? Because again, we were just like, I hate to say it. I mean, well, me, I know, but like just kind of bumming around trying to figure this stuff out, you know, like, hey, I got a self-tape, like, let's do it.
Right.
You know,
you're just going to all right, I guess I gotta,
you know, it's like, we got
2 tapes.
You're just trying to get the job, I would say, you know, and just trying to like work and survive
just
as
trying
an
to stay
actor.
Afloat, keep your head above water. It's so much of where our energy went, and that was just the mindset of like, just stay alive, just keep treading, and tread long enough to get a bigger raft, to get a bigger boat, to get to get onto the bigger one. You know, I learned so much in those meetings, and I find the way I've explained this to people, because some people are not very open to talking about things like the law of attraction, because it's such an ethereal topic for people who aren't familiar with it. And the idea of having a positive mindset and the idea of manifestation, and these words, like many other catchphrases in fitness, like in anything else in life, I think these words are very subject to getting thrown around very loosey-goosey in a very liberal and sometimes inaccurate way. Yeah. You and I have been around LA a long time. We hear a lot of people say the word vibes and manifest. And to be frank, I've seen a lot of people misuse these words and not have the same. I'm not going to say it's a wrong comprehension. I'm going to say it's a different comprehension from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. And I can see some of these people sort of like staying on the same path where things don't change, just from my vantage point, they don't seem to be changing for them in the way that they say that they want. Yeah. Vibes, like some people say, oh, good vibes only. Yeah. That's not how it works. Yeah. That's not the definition. There are always high vibrations and low vibrations and wherever you are in between. It always changes because we are people and we are human vessels. We are just made up of molecules and atoms and energy and light. That's science. Everything is made up of light. And your vibes are going to change. You cannot say good vibes only. That literally doesn't exist. That defies literal science.
I love the t-shirts though. I'll good cute. Vibes it all day.
It's cute. It's cute. Yeah, you buy it on Etsy. It'll take you 5 months to get it and find it the right size.
Exactly.
And the letters are falling off. Yeah. Like people talk about like manifest. Like I know one person who he would just say like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in this big franchise. Great. What are you doing to? Yeah. Oh no, I just know I'm going to be in that thing. Okay. Yeah. Based on what? Mm-hmm. Oh no, I just know. You'll see. You know what?
Maybe, but
I am not entitled to you to explain that to me. You do you. Mm-hmm. And then I check back on that person, and that person doesn't seem to be. I don't know. I don't know. But far be it for me to judge. I'm just sort of like curious. Mm-hmm. But I think my point being is that it takes a lot of work.
It does. Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to elevate your vibration. It takes a lot of work to change your mindset. I think I do believe that in the industry that you and I work at, it's very misery loves company. Yeah. And the negative mentality of complaining and woe is me and collective trauma bonding and the whole like, oh man, this sucks. How about you? Yeah, this sucks. Yeah. One, it feels inappropriate to not be like, no, it doesn't suck.
I know. Yeah, I feel that too.
I get it. Yeah. I'm a very much I try to be an empathetic listener, so it's hard for me to be like, let me tell you how good I have it. Like, let me I'm never gonna go up to your face and be like, let me tell you about my positive vibrations. Yeah. Like I would feel so ridiculous if I did. So I understand. I just knew that I had to armor myself with a higher level of thinking. Yeah. And I was like, if I'm going to pursue this thing for the long haul, I need the muscles, I need the equipment, I need the gear up here and in here to sustain this? Because my insecurities, my confidence issues, the wheels are gonna fall off. I'm gonna flame out, and I'm not gonna know how to pick myself back up.
Yeah.
So I had to equip myself. And so going to these things and hearing people talk about it, and hearing Mike and Ramona teach us about it, and learning things like, is it happening to you or is it happening for you? The thing that you got, the result that you got out of it, is it the final destination? Was that the goal? No. But did it get you closer to the thing that you do want? Yes. Keep going that direction.
Yeah.
Keep working towards that. Meet the universe halfway. Things like that.
Yeah.
We focus so much about what we hate, what we don't like, what we don't want. Why don't we spend the same amount of energy focusing on what we do want and being specific about that? We spend so much time dreading or having anxiety over how many thousand ways this situation can go wrong and blow up on our faces. But why don't we devote even equal amount of time, if not only that same amount of time, to how many ways it can go right?
Exactly.
And I get it. It's a self-preservation thing. I'm like that too. I think of all the ways it can go wrong so that I can be prepared. It's a form of preparation. I understand, because we care.
Yeah.
That's
it's
human.
survival.
It's survival.
That's exactly what it is. Like, I have to know that when I go into the bushes, there's a tiger there and I could die. So let me figure out all the ways to be prepared so I won't get eaten by the tiger. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it's just like, like what you're saying, it's like, well, what if I don't get eaten by the tiger?
But if you've done your work, if you surveyed the land, if you've charted out this area, this jungle and this area, and you know that there's a good chance that there's an oasis behind it, or at least a village with water that of people that can help you. If you've done your work, you know that you got a pretty good chance.
Yeah.
And if you've learned how to fight off tigers or done things to protect yourself from tigers, like, that's what I mean. It's like, it's never a full blind leap of faith. Sometimes it is, but like, that's what they say about doing the work. It's like, you're always you're doing the work to get yourself closer. I mean, I don't know. People freak out when they hear law of attraction stuff, or they think they get it. But then when you say luck is preparation meets opportunity, people connect to that.
Exactly. And even when people just think, because I know I grew up very religious and, with a religious background. And it's just when you really think about your words and your mind really do shape your life. Like, I feel like people can get on board with that too,
I realize that there isn't that big of a difference between prayer and manifestation.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that too.
What is it? You're praying to your conception or your perception of God, and you're saying what you want.
And you're asking.
You're not saying, please God, don't give me that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't you know?
Some people do. Some people do.
No, but don't you feel it's more?
And then you're also gratitude too. It's like, I'm asking for this thing, or I'm putting this thing out, and thank you, thank you in advance, or I'm grateful for what I have now. Thank you, God, for this, you know.
I'm not a religious person. I consider myself, I classify myself mostly as agnostic atheist. That being said, if you're looking at the structure of prayer, I'm like, what's the difference between swapping out the word God for universe?
Exactly.
And being very specific about what it is that you want, and understanding that there is a bigger thing potentially at play that is beyond what we can see, and it's not really our job to know how it works. But if you're doing everything you're supposed to, things will line up in a way that you might find works out better for you than if you didn't do the work, and if you didn't try, and if you didn't hone in on what it is that you want. So I don't feel that I have the authority. I mean, I'm speaking with a lot of conviction right now, but what I'm really sharing is like, this is how I've trained myself to try. I've strived to operate at this level, and I fall off a lot. And it takes work to get back. It takes me work to get back on it.
Yeah, but because I'm just saying
I've had to survive.
Yeah, I've been a witness to it, and I think that also just you and I, from when we started, doing these auditions, I think we both were trying to figure out, okay, what we're doing here, this like struggle bus and the stress and the frustration, like this isn't life right here. Yeah, we both were like, this isn't life. Like, what can we do to really get a grasp on being in the driver's seat of like our lives and our careers and stuff. And I just remember we were having conversations about like mindset shifting and, in not even just like career, just like, but even like love life and just like day-to-day life, and
I think it's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all connected.
I like to compartmentalize, but at the same time, it's just things can inform each other.
Yeah.
There have been many times where my personal life, I was able to draw from it. It was happening, and it was like the work or the art was imitating real life at times.
Yeah.
And it's okay that happens. It just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
And I found that there were times that it was fruitful and it was beneficial to just be aware and to allow and just keep your eyes open,
And be open to the growth, because I really feel like that, like it's like you accomplish these cool things and then it's like, but they grow you in certain ways and you have to be like open and willing to like grow and adjust and change,
You have to. There's been many instances, especially in the last few years, where I really had to be like, all right, just keep your heart open. You don't know how this is going to go. And for some reason, I just felt like I've had a little bit more to lose in the past few years, where it's made me kind of shrink up a little bit. And I've felt a little more self-conscious about taking big risks in any kind of way. But that hasn't stopped me from doing it. I've definitely been a bit of a, I don't know, I've done some slightly crazy things for myself, things that I never thought I would do, and it's opened me up to ultimately like rich life experiences.
Like what? I'm sorry. I want to.
In college, I joined the cheerleading team.
Nice.
That was crazy.
I love that.
I had no business being there. Like that crashed and burned. Like that ultimately was not a great experience.
That's so cool though. I love that.
Yeah. But like for a while, there was some fun experiences. It was just like I experienced things that I ordinarily would not have. Like I moved to LA and I started pursuing this thing, and like my mind is blanking beyond that right now. But like even in high school, I wasn't an athletic kid. But for some reason, I just became hell bent on like, I'm going to prove to myself that I can make it onto the wrestling team.
Nice.
To walk on. So there's no tryouts. Don't get me wrong, but like I'm going to prove to myself that I can survive, that I can hang.
Nice.
With these really tough kids who can beat the shit out of me.
Wow.
This is the truth. Like I don't think I was a tough kid. I think I just was too stubborn to quit.
Yeah. I love that though. Going back to just, the mindset and just trying things. I mean, I remember, after, seeing you at that meeting and just over time, I don't know, just seeing you just kind of bloom and blossom. And the next thing I know, I look up and there's the Deadline article, and you're on Kung Fu, and it's just like, he did that, And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were filming season 1 while I was in Vancouver.
That's right.
With the Wendy movie.
That's right.
But we couldn't meet up.
No, because of COVID rules. And
all that good stuff. But
oh man, I would love to have seen you up in Vancouver.
I know, man. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. How cool though.
Yeah. And I just remember, honestly, Eddie, like just seeing that and just how, I don't know, I had like a mama bear moment where I was just so proud of you and so happy to see that, because I just know, it's giving me chills, like, because I know that there's growth and levels to everything. And like, that's not the end all be all to like your career or our careers or whatever, but just like that moment of being like, Eddie did it, like, and I love that.
Thank
and
you so much.
Just
right back
so
at
much
you.
Appreciation and just gratitude and just admiration of seeing that and being witness to it.
Right back at you. You led a feature film.
Which is dope. Insane,
that's dope.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were both shooting at the same time in the same city too, really like there's like a poetic magic to that.
I know. I remember like seeing your Instagram and I was like, hold on, are you in Vancouver?
Yeah.
Like, what?
How long were you there for?
I was there, I think, for about 7 or 8 weeks, maybe, because I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. Yeah, which was fun. In my one bedroom hotel.
Did they put you in the Sutton?
No, was it the Level? I think
the Level. Yeah, it's always either the Sutton or the Level.
Yeah, that's what everyone was telling me, and I was just like, I'll take a car. I'll stay in a shack. I don't care. Like, it was just like, we're doing this, But yeah, I just think that there is power in that mindset shift and everything that you were saying too about it's so easy in this business as actors to really hone in on that negativity, on like what's not working. And I fall trap into it sometimes too. And, I have my little like jaded moments and, like you were saying, like sometimes you just fall off of that kind of ongoing daily practice. And you just find ways to just kind of come back, to center, come back to yourself.
Right.
I do remember, the movie, the Wendy movie, just was one of the most incredible experiences of my career, so far. And I was just kind of like soaking it all in, but I also was just like, keep your head down, do the work, like don't get too excited, just enjoy. And I was very optimistic in terms of like, this is going to open up some doors for me. And it was like, after the movie came out, I couldn't crowbar a door. It was like insane. And it was about, gosh, maybe almost like 2 years where it was just, thank goodness I had the Oval to work on, because, like otherwise every audition, everything I was auditioning for, I just kept getting no's on. Yeah. And, it was a challenge to just try to keep that like pep, optimistic, I love this business, type of thing. Yeah. But it was, I had my dips with it, and then I would kind of just come back to the table and be like, okay, you did this, you're doing this, you committed to it. And then every once in a while I get like a little nugget where I would see, some A-list actor, like their interview and saying like, oh, after I won the Oscar, I couldn't get work for 5 years. And finally I got that thing, and so for me, I was just like, okay, like I'm not the only one in this. Like, far from it. We are
not the first to go through it. We will not be the last.
Exactly.
It's a non-linear industry.
It is.
For people trying to get in, it's not the same as, okay, well, now you've been promoted to account manager, and now you'll soon after that, you'll be senior VP or junior VP, and you just keep going up within X amount of years. And here it's like, no.
It's like you can be in the A-list movie 1 week, and then the next month you're like, what?
Sometimes our career trajectory is a child's doodle. It's just
yeah. And it's just, keeping yourself sane through it all is key. Yeah. And I'm just curious with you, what are some things that you've implemented over the years, to just kind of deal with the ebbs and flows of all of it? Because, and not to like harp on anything too much, but I know I saw recently the announcement, about your show. And so, hearing that news, how did you handle it, and what things did you kind of pre-pave, along the way to just kind of be like emotionally okay with everything?
I think even like a few years ago, I remember being on the job and just kind of thinking to myself, I had a couple of like moments of reflection and contemplating. These were like existential thoughts, but there were also like very real, tangible thoughts in terms of like, okay, one day, whatever show, whatever job, shoot you're on, it's going to end. And for the longest time, all I did was put my foot on the gas and be like, all right, I'm an actor. I'm pursuing this. That's what I'm going for. Mm-hmm. And then like a lot of my identity and a lot of like the way my front facing, like on my social media was very like professional. Like it was often promoting the work and stuff like that. And then what I found was I'd look at my own Instagram and I kind of be like, this is all work related. And I don't really know if I'm just looking at this, I don't know who I am without the job.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, because there are a lot of people who just keep their stuff really just all about professional type of things. Yeah. And I noticed that my personal stuff I wasn't sharing personal stuff, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I was also kind of like, wait, I personally internally lost sense of like, wait, who am I without any of this? And so I was like, okay, well, one day this is going to end. You're going to have to figure that out, because it's going to end whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And in a way that either you control or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended up happening. We did get canceled. And I remember it was a bummer for sure. And I think the saddest part was knowing that I couldn't work with my friends again, because we became so tight.
Yeah.
We bonded so we became thick as thieves, right? As they say. We started this job at the height of the pandemic, like even before the vaccines came out. Like that's how much of a risk it was to like leave home, leave everyone you love behind. We were leaving our significant others behind and our families, and a couple of people had to leave their countries. Kang left Singapore. She left her elderly mother and her daughter.
Wow.
And who she's super close with her family. She's the mom on our show. JP left Australia. He moved with his fiance. Wow. And she's an absolute champ to be able to like pick up and come up there, and she left all her friends and family behind too, and but we're all like everybody, all our producers and directors, and like our producing director left his family behind in Florida, and he spent the whole, you know what I mean? Like the guy's a father, you know what I mean? Like I don't have kids, but like it was hard enough for me in that sense. But like on the one hand, we're just making entertainment, and we're not. They always say, "Oh, we're not curing cancer," but there's a lot on the line here. There's a lot of money on the line.
Yeah,
you're taking a risk as far as like your health. It was very stressful. Like I didn't know how to move to Canada. I wish there was a book or a tutorial.
I know.
Like how to move to another city outside your own country, because we had to look into renting cars and where to live, and we didn't know how to do that stuff.
I went through that too.
Like how do you file your taxes? Like what information do you need? And like there's no handbook on this stuff.
And this is why I created this thing, the In Trive, to talk about those types of things, because there's no manual on any of this, you know, and you just kind of change your life. You figure it out, and you got a ticking clock to figure it out.
And thankfully we had each other.
Yeah.
Who we could talk to and be like, hey, where are you guys looking for apartments?
Yeah.
Here. We like this building. Okay. And then 4 of us ended up moving into the same floor.
Nice.
And it was like a dorm. It was great.
Oh my gosh.
It was like adult summer camp in that way. Like it was those things that I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss this the most. Like those nights where it'd be like, Vanessa would be like, hey guys, I just got home from set. I'm going to make a salad and open up a bottle of wine. Who wants to come over and hang? And then Shannon's like, all right, I'll bring healthy snacks. And then I'll be like, I'll bring whiskey. And then somebody else will be like, I'll bring weed. And then we all, you know, and then we'd all meet up in something, because like we treated it like an NBA playoff bubble.
Oh, I was watching that too, to kind of, because we had to do that for our show, the bubble, and I was like, what are the athletes doing? You know, how are they doing that?
So like, you know, we just made a lot of good memories, and that's who we relied on each other. So the idea of community, the idea of family, like that's very important. Like for so long I lone wolfed it, like because I tried to stay mentally and emotionally light. I've had varying levels of emotional availability to my friends, to, you know, to people in my life, where it was just like, I'm just trying to survive, you know, and then opportunities will come. And then like this did for me and for us. And like, you know, like I said, that those experiences where there's a lot of trauma bonding, and there was a lot of like, we're going through some right now, and this is crazy, and no one is telling us how to do this. We kind of feel like we're on our own here right now, but at least we have each other. Yeah, you know. So and over the course of 3 seasons together, we just happened to take turns having somebody would have a low point, and the rest of the group would elevate that person, and you know, we'd all take turns going through and either at work or in our personal lives. And, you know, you're just there for each other. So community is very important. Family is very important in that sense. You know, finding the people who are really there for you, you know. And I have a sense that you guys are going to be family and community for a very, very long time. Yeah, we stuck together. Yeah, we just went to JP's wedding in the springtime. Nice. And we all, like, the fact that, like, at the time we didn't know if we were going to get canceled yet, and we were hopeful, and it ended up not working out. But like, we're just like, wow, how lucky are we that we love each other enough that we'd all get invited to somebody's wedding, that we all care to go, and we all want to be together, and we like booked a place to stay together. And let me tell you, that's rare. It's so rare. That is so rare. How many other casts can do that, where they give a shit about each other? I'm gonna keep my mouth shut, but I'm just saying it's that cast camaraderie. That's very rare, you know, and so that's so beautiful. Well, and we also figured out early on, like, and we're talking about the product, like the network and the studio figured out, like, oh, the selling point of this story is the family. Yeah. You know, it's their togetherness. It's their natural organic chemistry, forged by COVID fire and things like that. But, you know, like, it just goes to show, like, even in when times are dark and tough, beautiful things can come out of that. For sure. Know? Like, you mentioned something earlier about, like, just like mentality and like what went into me, like, booking that. And then, like, there were times where, like, I had a huge chip in my shoulder before booking that. Like the year before that, I did too. Yeah. I tested for 3 network pilots. Yeah. And then I auditioned for like a feature film that I was really bummed that I didn't even get a call back for, because I felt so right for it. And I didn't need to book the role. And I feel like ultimately the right guy booked it, you know what I mean? But it wasn't about that I didn't book the part. It's like, I just sought this validation where after a pilot season of getting my ass kicked, where it felt like I climbed up the ladder several times. Yeah. I kept getting knocked down. and tasting. I was so close. I'd signed the deal memos. I saw how much I could have been making. I read the scripts and I liked most of them. A couple of those parts were really funny, and all of them would have been great first jobs. And so, then to pick my own scraps off, or to scrape myself up off the pavement after that pilot season, and go audition for a few things. And I remember at that point I just really needed some validation and some level of hey man, you're on the right track. Don't worry, I know you just got kicked out of you this month or two. I was also financially it was really tough financially. I was I need a pilot check, even if we don't get picked up to series. Just one check would be so helpful. But that was going through my mindset. That's what was going through my head. And then over that summer, I auditioned for that other thing that I didn't get, and I was just this. How do I go back? How do I drag myself back into my survival job and deal with corporate sales and hitting minimums and then I booked a recurring guest.
Oh, and Never
show.
Have I Ever.
That was the one. And, it came at the right time for me. And then thankfully that worked out well. That was nice and it was well received. And I got a lot of nice feedback on that. And it was great. But I do feel that year of difficulty and hardship, or that rejection, that chip in my shoulder that I felt, it armored me so that by the time I went to the next pilot season, I just walked for this audition. I just walked in there yeah, whatever, here we go. I fully planned on. It's so weird. But there was a sense of ease.
Yeah.
And a natural this feels kind of right. I actually, by the way, I didn't think I was going to book that. I had absolutely no expectation. I fully expected that one of my friends was going to get it.
Wow.
Because I thought he was so right, and I thought I wasn't.
that's the sweet spot where you have to be, I feel like. And it's something you can't even fabricate. It's there's times where I feel in my career I've tried to be whatever, let me just go and act like I don't care. And it's but you just reach it's a strengthening part. It's something you just reach. And I kind of make the analogy to the whole butterfly in the cocoon thing. It's you're just flapping your wings, trying to get out of the cocoon, get out, and then finally you just you get out.
Cocoon. Yeah, that's it. There's no substitution for it. You just have to struggle. That being said, the struggle doesn't have to be sad and negative.
It doesn't
and dramatic.
have to be.
It's just strengthening. It's working out.
But I also think too, when you, this is where I'm not trying to be toxic positive, but it's when you still find joy in the struggle in some kind of way, things do just kind of open up some way. And I think the joy aspect is when you're hanging out with your friends or you're going to the beach, you're not at home with the curtains closed and you're crying about not getting the job. It's when you just are let me just get up and,
go live life.
And I just remember, in those moments for me, I don't know, I was just playing a lot of music, putting things up on the wall that were just positive, I was teaching, I still teach, but I just was let me just, I'm driving an hour and a half to go make $50 today. Let me just play some fun music and have a good time, and just I got an audition. Let's do it, know? Oh, I didn't get that pilot. All right, well, I have friends, I have family, I have a roof over my head.
Sure.
Let me just, And so I don't know, I feel for me personally, that's always kind of been the key. It's not, by no means is it easy to keep that up all the time, but it's just sometimes you just got to kind of have that battle with yourself and be you're blessed. Just get up. Everything's working out. Right. And blindly and boldly believe that and keep going,
And understanding that, this actually is part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is part of the job. And a lot of it is, if you want to rebrand it, say it's research and development if you want. Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of times I'd walk into the stunt gym at work and seeing the guys, if they were free they had the rest of the day clear because they had finished everything they needed to do for work for the show. And then they might spend a little time R&Ding, researching and developing, just for future potential stuff. Yeah. I'd see them working out some moves, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes the weapon just flies out of your hand. Sometimes you just fall and you slip and you get hurt. And that's just part of it.
It is part of it.
How will you ever find the next, for these people in their line of stunt work, how do you figure out the next cool thing you're going to do without the R&D aspect, without the failure, without the many repetitions that you almost got it and you didn't? So I always, as a spectator, as a non-stunt person watching them do that, that's always just been super inspiring. And then I watch my friends put up just demo fights that they do for fun, and it's studio quality. Like, you could put this stuff in a major blockbuster action movie, and I'm like, I'd pay to see that. And also, just so happens, all these people have worked on big budget things.
Exactly.
And their humility and their humbleness is exemplary. And that's what I love about stunt people, by the way. Shout out to all the stunt people who worked on our show, is that they are, especially the ones who I met in Vancouver, just the most, I haven't been doing my job for very long and on that side of things, where that's as it pertains to action and stuff like that. So I don't know maybe that many stunt people altogether in the grand scheme of things in all of Hollywood, but like I've met a bunch now. These people are so talented and they're so humble, and their DNA is different from us actors in that they take care of each other. They look out for each other. These people who I've met are genuinely supportive of each other. One of the factors that's different between actors and stunties is the real sense of danger on the job.
Yeah.
They really can get hurt.
Yeah. Some
people have died.
Yeah.
In I'm talking in general. But like, when you have that danger, it brings you closer together.
It does.
So the talent and their resumes could suggest that these people might have huge egos, but nope, not the ones I've met. Some of the nicest, kindest, most giving people, and that's why I like to be around them so much.
Well, you reflect that too.
Thank
I
you.
gotta say. So
Thank you.
and this is why I love that we had this conversation, and
Me
I
too.
love that you're here, and so. Thank you for being kind and generous and humble as well. And I just know that without a doubt, like, this is only the beginning for you, and so much more is to come. And I'm just so proud and happy to be able to bear witness to it all. And so thank you.
That's
Eddie.
so kind of you. Thank you.
Yes.
And how crazy it is that you and I were like scrapping and scraping and banging out self-tapes with each other in the valley. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's just so cool. It was like I taped with either you or like one other friend at the time.
Yeah, same here. You were like, you and my other friend Derek, y'all were both my go-tos.
Yeah.
I literally was like, Eddie, Derek, what's up? All right, let's do it.
If you and I think it was my friend Vivian, there might have been one other person, but if you weren't around, I would have been like, who do I ask? I don't want to ask anybody else.
Yeah. No, it was good. I mean, look, I'm still, once the business opens back up, we will.
Hey, I'm around.
Yeah, you just have to make the little drive out here. So.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All
for
right.
sure.
So I have to ask you this last question.
Oh boy. Okay.
So basically what I do is the previous guest ask a question and you have to answer, and then you have to ask a question that the next guest will answer.
Ooh.
Okay. I can't tell you who this question is from.
Okay.
But they said, what are the things in your career that bring you the most joy?
That's nice. That's a lovely question. Thank you so much. I love those little moments that you can't pay for. I love experiencing unique moments that you never expected that you would see or have. Like, I've told this story before, but like when I was shooting at the Universal lot on Never Have I Ever, we had an exterior shot. It was supposed to be my apartment, and the Video Village was just like maybe 20, 30 feet away from the actual set. And so we sat on the steps of some executives' offices, and we had a rear side view of the Hogwarts Castle at Universal Studios.
Oh, wow.
And we could see little bits of the fireworks show. And the crew were sitting there because you'd have to be quiet in between sets. So some crew just have to sit down and just be quiet. They just have to wait for the shot to cut, and then they can go back to work. But in between the setups, one of the crew, a couple of them, Jeff, Nancy from sound, they had this app on their phones. It was like a stargazing map.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just we're looking at the back of Hogwarts, and we're just stargazing and looking at constellations. And I was like, I've been to Universal a bunch, and I've never been able to do this. Yeah. I've worked on sets before. I've never been able to do this.
Yeah.
So cool like that. Being up in Canada and just being in the nature, because we had a few outdoor.
Oh my gosh.
We're in a few national parks, and there was this one beautiful Alouette Lake in a British Columbia, which is a little bit outside of Vancouver proper. And there was like this beautiful, like, it looked like a painting. It looked like a Bob Ross painting.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, have you heard the phrase or the word Valhalla?
yeah.
Like when the Vikings die, they made their soul live on forever in Valhalla. I felt like I was looking at Valhalla. You know what I mean? Like in Mad Max, when the characters are like,
Yeah.
Valhalla,
Yeah.
I'm awaited. I'm like, that's it. I see it.
Yes.
Stuff like that. And yeah, just kind of having those moments. Like I remember being able to, like, with my Kung Fu castmates, like we've had so many moments. Like we almost killed each other in laser tag.
Oh God.
Like it's like some of the most competitive people I've ever been in a friend group with, and I'm always like just clinging on for dear life, trying not to fall in last place with these guys in everything that we play, because they're just so good at everything. Those guys, oh my God. Being able to go to like our castmate's wedding, like we went to Asia together.
So would you say that
Like how cool is that?
I guess like building or having community is kind of like one of the things that bring you the most joy in your career?
I guess so. I'm not, I'm like, you know, because earlier I mentioned that I can be a bit of a soloist in terms of like, I don't know. For some reason, the idea of getting too attached to people because you know that it's a fleeting thing, like makes me feel a little sad thinking about like, oh yeah, this is like Jeff Daniels has a great mentality on this. He has a great quote on this he did a podcast interview on the Off Camera with Sam Jones.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he talks about success and everything that comes with what we go through. It's like, it's all the good. He says like that tuxedo that you're wearing, you know, like to go to the Oscars, that limo that they drop you off in, all that is rented.
Yeah.
All this goes back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that all this is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's why like experiencing cool things like that, whether it's in a community situation or seeing a little bit of nature for once, you know, like I really try to like let it soak in, because I'm kind of like, I would never have experienced this otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't think so. When else will I have the chance to do this again?
Yeah.
So when I have that moment when those thoughts cross my head, don't know if I would have done this otherwise. Don't know when I'll ever see this again. Don't know if I'll ever have this again like this with this people here. And it just feels right. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this isn't even me on set right now.
Yeah.
You know? But it happened as a result of me booking this job and being here and working on this thing. Like those moments, I live for that.
I do too. I love that too.
Yeah.
So good.
And it feels like it enriches me as a person, not just an actor. Like, sure, like there's like not everything we do is so sacred and deeply artistic, but those moments when you go through a moment that makes you deeper and richer as a person with a human soul, like that I try to hang on to that stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Good question.
Good question. Okay, what is your question for the next guest?
Can you talk about a time that you thought you had experienced a failure, but it turned out to be the opposite, or it turned out in an unexpected way? And for fuller context, it could be simply as like a law of attraction, like it worked out in a way that you didn't expect.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I can't wait to ask that question.
Because that's fun when you.
Yeah, I know. You're like, what?
Which can happen. Sometimes you feel like you're falling on your face and like and then you wait a little bit and you stay not positive, but like just don't give up. And then like time passes, you almost forgot that bad thing happened to you. And then you're like, wait a second, that's what that was. And then you see the big picture on a situation like that. That can happen.
And that lens opens up.
Yeah. Don't underestimate the possibility of that. That happens a lot in our industry. Because we were so good at writing our own narratives and being like, I know what happened there. That's what that was.
Yeah.
And you are so wrong.
You're so wrong.
You have no idea what you're talking about. You weren't in the room.
Yeah.
Most of us are never in the room to hear how it went down. And even then, it's amazing how two people can look at the exact same thing and see two different experiences.
Yep. So true.
It's like we're existing in parallel universes.
So true.
Yeah.
Oh, so amazing.
Right.
Thank you, Eddie.
Yeah, which is like the magic of the industry and the magic of, in our existence in a way. Well, it's frustrating when it comes to voting, but
yeah. Well, that'll be the next time.
That's a different podcast. Yeah.
Well, Eddie, where can everyone find you and keep up with you?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is Eddie Lui Who. EDDIELIUWHO.
And I'll be down at the bottom. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Eddie, this was amazing. Thank you again.
Thank
I'm
you so much.
happy to have you here at the In Tribe. And
This is a
I
blast.
can't wait for people to hear this.
Thank you, C.
Yes, thank you. Oh my goodness. I mean, that was such an incredible interview. I so loved hearing all about Eddie's journey and just being able to share with you all. And so, like Eddie said, please be sure to hit him up on social media. I have the links listed down below. But yeah, he's a great person to follow, and I'm sure that you will enjoy following his journey. And look, if you want more content like this, you already know what to do. Head on over to theintrive.com, where we have more articles, more podcast episodes, more YouTube videos, and also we have a membership and courses and events. And so please hop on over there and be a part of the In Tribe. So I'll see you over there. But until then, please continue to stay inspired, keep thriving, and know that I'm here with you and that I love you and I am right there along the journey with you. All right. I will see you soon. Love you. Bye.